If a guy can't hurt you, you can have one strategy. He throws that jab and you go, holy sh. We want you to be a defensive fighter before an offensive fighter. We want you to fall in love with defense. Defense before offense, right? We don't want you to come out thinking that you're just going to destroy. We want you to come out, right, and think of yourself as a defensive fighter first and an offensive fighter second. That doesn't mean you don't have offense and you're not looking to throw your game, right? But it means your mindset typically is we want you to be defensive minded first, because a big defense is a big offense. Okay? The better your defense, the bigger your offense. The more mistakes you can make them make, the more opportunities you'll create for yourself. When we talk about defense, we layer up our defense. We have hand skills, we have head movement skills, we have a whole bunch of skills that we've laid down in layers that we give to you that you can then apply when you're fighting. Okay? And the first layer we're going to talk about is just your hand skills. This is the first layer. So Randall, if he were to throw a jab, generally speaking, at this stage, this is the rule. This hand blocks this hand blocks this hand. This punch was moving forward. This is its absolute, although it's got its most energy this way, it's easiest to defeat because the leverage is furthest away from, so hold your hand still. Don't let me do anything to it, okay? He can't hold his, right? There's no stability for it, right? So for me to interrupt this punch is very easy, okay? The only thing I want to do when I interrupt this punch, this hand blocks this hand blocks this, is just some simply like this. He throws it. I'm going to turn my palm on my glove on my hand like this. I'm going to go like that. That's it. Do it. That's it. Go ahead, throw it. That's all I'm going to do. Very simple. Do it again. Okay? I'm not moving. Now listen, when I say defense, the first thing that happens to most people instinctively is what? They begin to back up. Defense does not mean back up. It can mean back up, but it doesn't mean back up. Defense means, right, we want you to be defensive minded. Put your first layer up. That's your first layer. What am I not doing with him? I'm not doing this. I'm not doing any of that, right? I'm not pulling my hand away from my face. I'm not trying to direct his punch. I'm catching his punch. I want it here because this is where, right, it's the least stable and I make the least amount of options for him, the least amount of opportunities for him, the least amount of mistakes for myself if I catch it right here. The further away I catch it from my face or the further away I pull, the more distance I create, the more opportunities I create for him. Right here, I'm nice and safe. I haven't given up anything. I haven't moved, right? This is all I want, like this. He throws his other hand, same thing. Boom, other hand, that hand, left hand, right hand, left hand, right hand. Same thing, that's it. I don't want you to be pulling hands, okay? We're not gonna get into this right now, but I don't want you throwing like he throws it down here. I don't want people seeing this. 90% of the punches you block will be like this. Throw your right hand. Be like that. That's it. That's it, okay? You know, he throws his jab and you just sort of, you know, he's been waiting all day to throw that, right? And you're just sort of taking control of it. You're not making any opportunities for him. You're not swatting around, you know. You're not freaking out. You're just standing there. That's it. Nothing changed for you, right? You're working your way. What are you doing during that process? You're feeling him a little bit. You see what kind of power he has, what kind of speed he has, what kind of reflexes he has, right? You're getting take some measurements. You're getting to do a little recon work, right? Off of that jab, you think, oh, this guy ain't got no power. You know, it's like a girl, this guy. No offense to girls, really, right? Then he throws his right hand. Oh man, are you kidding me? I'm gonna kill this dude, right? You can start beginning to set your strategy up based on what you feel. If a guy can't hurt you, you can have one strategy. He throws that jab and you go, holy sh! This guy cleaned me out. Then you have to have a different strategy, right? He's throwing that jab and you can't quite keep up with him because his reflexes are so good and his hands are so fast, right? You have another series of things you have to work through. All that gained just by this, right? All that information, all that intel comes in just when he's throwing just the jab and you're feeling them. and you're measuring them, right? You get a sense for who you're in with. Like this, right? He sees that, he'll cross you up, right? Not that there's anything wrong. There are techniques for this, right? That's fine. But for this technique, the fundamental technique is this is what we're doing. This hand blocks this hand blocks that hand. Good. You can throw either hand now. Throw your right hand. There you go. Good. Make sure you're switching back and forth. Good. All right. So look. So we got hand control, right? We got a little hand control. Throw your jab. Right. Throw your two. We got hand control. The next, right, and that's your first layer. You set up like this, like we told you, he throws the jab, you're just blocking it, right? You're not making any big movements, no big panic. He's not picking much from you. He's not reading, but you're getting a lot out of him, okay? The next thing is just a slip, okay? So let's talk about it in detail real quick. Guy throws a jab. The goal of a slip is to what? What's the primary goal of a slip? Not to get hit, right? Right? So the primary goal of a slip is to get out of the way. Right? But what's the optimum goal? To give yourself an advantage in the process, right? So if he throws his jab, throw it slow, and I go like this, okay, I have definitely achieved my goal of getting out of the way, right? But I may not have given myself a real advantage, an opportunity for me to do anything with it other than to miss the punch. But if I take my shoulder and I fold it down, did you see the difference between this and then just folding it down like this? Now all of a sudden, I got some things I can do, right? Off of that jab, so let's say for instance, he's been really well trained, but he's really aggressive. They say he would fight like Coach Cavanaugh. He's really gonna come in and be aggressive, right? So I wanna make him miss and make him pay, right? So when he throws that jab and he's heavy on that front foot coming forward because I know he's committed to his punch, then I can slip it, boom, right? I can't do that from here. In fact, when I just go like this, I'm kind of in his wheelhouse for his two, right? Right? So I have to be in here like this. So there's nothing wrong with a guy throws a jab and you're slipping out like this, right? But it's better and more optimal if you can fold your shoulder down. Now when he comes back, I can get my two off right away. Now I can get my four off right away. Right? Now I can just turn my feet, pop, pop, and get the angle on them right away. There's a whole bunch of things I can do, just the difference between this and that. All it is taking this shoulder and folding it down to that knee while you're leaning forward. Watch what happens to my hip. I'm loading my hip, so now whatever punch I come up with, right? I put all that energy in my hip and it's ready to counter. If I don't load my hip, I just go like this, then I'm gonna have a weak counter. Okay, just throw your two and leave it out. Okay? Okay, now go back to the beginning. Okay, now you see where his feet are and you see where his foot is. Everybody see that? So Christian has chosen to put his foot sideways and Randall has chosen to put his foot more towards, let's say, 2 o'clock. Okay, and you might say, what's the difference with that? What's so big about that? That's how he feels and that's how he feels. That's okay, right? But there is something that's happening right now that you need to be aware of, okay? So let me give you an example. Now, I'm gonna be Christian, and I'm gonna have my position like this, like Christian is, right? And I'm gonna put a two out. I just want you to put your chin at the very end of it, okay? So back up a little bit, okay? So I'm starting here like Christian, and I put my two out, and I put let me go all the way to the end. Okay, would you agree that's about as far as I can go? Okay, you see that? Don't move your chin. All right? Don't move. Now I'm just gonna take my foot and go like that, right? I picked up 3 or 4 inches, right? The difference is when your foot is wide like this and your foot is out like this, your pivot point is much wider and much deeper. His pivot point is here. Your pivot point is here, right? And the wider your pivot point, the less power you have and the less distance you have. Okay? Now you can't have it too narrow, right? You want to be right in the middle. He has a little bit more of a position where his foot's like this. He can drive better, his punch is longer, and he can unlock his hip further. This right here versus that, right? Less power, shorter distance. More power, longer distance. Now, there's nothing wrong with this, right? Nothing wrong with it. It's got consequences though, right? And let's say you're in a fight and you're trying to amp up your power a little bit. You can't hurt somebody, okay? It could be that your fundamental stance, your fundamental disposition, the way that you're fighting takes power out of your game, right? That you're fighting wide. Guys who fight with wide stance have a hard time generating power, right? You want to have a nice medium stance. You want to make sure that you can push towards. It's hard. Now, everybody has a quotient of power. It's like speed, right? But if we're trying to optimize it, that's different than that. And I'm not saying that that is wrong. What I'm saying is it has consequences. Everywhere you put your foot, every angle you create, all the distances, right? The geometry between your legs and your shoulders, all that stuff matters in terms of the end product you produce. Okay? So if you're going to be like that, and you are, because you like to, right? You're short like that, right? Because that's going to take away power from you. Okay? Everything you do, everywhere you put your feet changes the geometry, which changes the possibility and the potential of your punches. Watch it. Yep. Now step to them when you do it. There you go. Good. 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 Step to him, Nick. There you go. See that advantage? Good. Good. You're turning your foot sideways. Right, you're turning your foot sideways like this. Put your foot like this. That way you can unlock your hip. Give yourself an advantage, take the advantage. Give yourself an advantage, take the advantage. It's okay if you miss the punch, right? We're not out here making friends though, right? We're out here trying to win fights. Give yourself an advantage, then take advantage. It's better when you just break them up into individual pieces, right? It's easier to slip that than it is to slip this, then that, right? I'm not saying that's wrong, we teach that. But what else do we teach? We teach this and then that, right? Right? Which is all that is slip, angle, slip, angle. That way you never have to come out of your crouch. You just slip it and your angle, he's now over top you like this and you got him, right? So this may not work for everybody. It sort of takes a certain type of guy who's pretty quick or really good with space and stuff like that. But if you find you can get over, but you can't get back, you can certainly get over and then under. Okay, so I want to try this. Angle, right? Slip, angle. All right, let's try that as well. Yep. Good. 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 Make sure you're switching back and forth. Good. Excellent. Good.